G'day, everyone. Welcome along to the Toon podcast. Joining me tonight for what is what seems like a much overdue victory pod. We haven't had too many this season in terms of performances like what we've had against Leicester, but 3 points in the bag. Joining me tonight is Craig from up in sunny Mackay, wintry Mackay, rainy Mackay. Can't have any more rain than what's hit Brisbane in the last couple of days.
Probably not as much rain as what you have, but it's been coming down a bit. But again, that just means high humidity, breaks of sunshine, bit of everything as you would expect, given Queensland summer.
Yeah, I was at the Pig and Whistle where we do our Newcastle meetups for Brisbane yesterday, and it was torrential downpours. I didn't get to stay out. I was a little bit under the weather by the time the match kicked off, so I did watch it on replay this morning. But yeah, it's always nice. Sort of leading into a Sunday off the back of what was a pretty convincing win, would you say?
Oh God, yeah, from the first whistle right down to the last, we were absolutely dominant. Leicester had a tiny little spell at the end of the first half where they gained a bit of possession, but they never threatened it any which way, shape, or form.
I will give you props. We both did the preview pod on Friday, and you picked the 4-0 win, which I'm pretty impressed by. Disappointed you didn't put that bet on, but we'll just take the 4-0 win and we'll move on.
Absolutely.
So I guess going into the game, I think both of us were feeling it was pretty much a must-win game for us, given the points dropped against Brentford. Are you looking at this game in terms of the performance in general, just the result? I mean, I was quite happy just to kind of take whatever win we could get, just get 3 points on the board. But I mean, you saw this as a must-win game as well, didn't you?
Yes, absolutely. Especially after that Brentford result. And I actually thought back looking at this run of little fixtures, I actually thought the Brentford game would be more winnable than the Leicester one because I thought Leicester would come and park the bus, whereas Brentford would be the more open game. How wrong I was.
Yeah, I think the problem with Leicester for me was always going to be down to that new manager bounce. Ruud kind of went to Man U. He's put a bit of a run together for Man United before he was replaced. Leicester's picked him up, and I was always a little bit puzzled. It seemed like a bit of a gamble appointment from them, if you like, but he obviously, by all accounts, I'm talking to a couple of Leicester fans, they're kind of happy with the change in footballing philosophy from them. But I just think that this game was crying out for a little bit more defensiveness from them. I think it's all right. It's all well and good kind of trying to play a certain style of football, but at St. James's Park, the game after, you know, the Brentford result, the last home game was the Liverpool game where we actually played really well and arguably could have and should have won it in injury time. Did you feel Leicester were kind of leaving the door open a little bit because they didn't necessarily park the bus quite as much as we thought they were going to?
Yeah, absolutely. Any team that wants to come to St. James's Park and try and take us on one-on-one are always going to leave themselves open. And when you don't really have a great defensive back four, is say what Liverpool have or anybody else, we can and will carve you open. Their defenders maybe recognise one or two names from maybe when they were back in the Premier League year before last, but they're not a Premier League quality team from what I've seen this morning from them. That was a very, very piss poor performance, and I can't imagine any Leicester fans are too happy thinking, you know what, we'll take on a chin and we'll move on. You'd expect better from them because, you know, they are at least they were a well Premier League solidified team. They've obviously went on a different trajectory to what we have in terms of takeovers and promotions, relegations, that sort of thing. But I'd be very disappointed if I was a Leicester fan, but being a Newcastle fan, I'm obviously equally as ecstatic given the win and the nature of the win as well.
Yeah, for me, it's always a little bit confusing with Leicester because of it, we kind of associate them with that complete out of nowhere Premier League title that they won, some really good names on the team sheets that
Yeah,
they had in those days, and it's kind of it's worth remembering that. As you said, there's not a lot of like names that you would kind of like immediately associate with that starting lineup that we were facing. Maybe probably Vardy is probably one of the few that's like that real
yeah,
standout player, and he's kind of like ready to start upgrading to a Zimmer frame soon. And he's obviously lost a little bit of pace, I guess, because of his age, but he's not getting the service either. And what I found very strange was their persistence at trying to play out from the back without
yeah,
necessarily the quality to pick out those passes. We were intercepting balls literally from the first minute in the game. We weren't even pressing them all that much compared to what we did against Liverpool, I thought. Like do you see that? I mean, they've lost a lot of players. I mean, we've got Barnes off them. Madison went to Spurs.
yeah.
They lost, they've lost other players to other Premier League teams, other overseas teams. People, players have retired, all that sort of stuff. Um, why, I mean, is it just that there's this footballing philosophy these days of, oh, we've got to play out from the back, we've got to keep possession, we can't just bomb it long and hope for the best, we need to try and hold on to the ball. But at what point do you kind of go, well, that's not working today, we just need to get it out of our own half because right now it's coming straight back at us?
Well, as a team that effectively and has been well noted doesn't have a plan B in Newcastle United, Leicester kind of just copied that same format where let's try and play it through. Maybe one of the 10 passes we get through will get its way to Vardy and he'll get that one-on-one chance. Never happened. We cut everything out. Um, Teams that don't have a plan B will struggle, and we found that out numerous times over the past 3 years or so since Eddie's been here. It's something that teams down at the bottom of the table, where off that performance, Leicester are going to finish, to be honest, where you need to be able to change things up. You need that target man, which Vardy just isn't anymore. They need
Yeah.
a Chris Wood type player, which is what every team should have, in my opinion. When things aren't going well from plan A, switch to plan B, and hopefully you can get something from it.
Yeah, it's actually a really good point because I think one of our big criticisms of the Newcastle side at the moment is a lack of plan B when things aren't going our way. And as you say, rightly so. I mean, we had people criticizing Chris Wood when he was here at Newcastle. I personally I thought it was slightly more nuanced than just like, oh, he's not scoring a lot of goals for us. I think he did a lot of grafting off the ball. He was holding the play up. He was kind of contributing more to like giving us an outlet and not necessarily scoring goals, but providing that little bit of release of pressure for us. And I'm personally happy to see him scoring. I just don't
Mhm.
like it when he scores against us. But like, and we've seen early this morning, Nottingham Forest moving up to fourth spot in the league, another win under their belt. Elliot Anderson playing well. So, you kind of, you've got to take your hat off to those sorts of strikers and having that option off the bench, haven't you?
Oh, absolutely, yes, yeah. It's something that we did have, and it's something that did work for us. I know a lot of people seeing Chris Wood as what the modern day Daryl Murphy in terms of that type of player. He worked hard for us. He put in a good graft. Yes, he didn't score the goals that we probably expected from him, but he done a lot more for the team than a lot of people will ever give him credit for.
Yeah, no, for sure. So, look, I mean, one of the things we said on Friday night before this game was one of the keys to getting something out of this game was a quick start, getting that first goal, and building on that. The opportunity that should hopefully lend itself to, which is basically Leicester having to push up, trying to get that equalising goal, and giving us a little bit more space and time on the ball, and creating a little bit of space in behind them to exploit with our pace and our counter-attacking football.
Yeah.
We did just that, but it wasn't just the goal in terms of the opening bit of play, but we absolutely dominated from pretty much the first kick of the game. Leicester probably guilty. Well, I think both sides were guilty of giving the ball away quite a lot. To me, it's like it is the one frustration I'm having with Newcastle right now is those sloppy passes, getting caught in possession, just misplaced balls, getting, just gifting the ball away in sometimes very, very awkward positions. Now, but with the chances we created early on, how much were you starting to panic and going, here we go again? We've got to put one of these away, or it's going to bite us in the ass, as it has numerous times this season already. At what point were you getting a little bit nervy before that first goal went in?
Well, Murphy missed 2 sitters. You'll call it 1.5 because the ref pulled it back for a foul on Isak, which, to be honest, that chance had gone because Murphy got his shot away. So we got lucky with that one off the ref. We really did.
I fully agree with that.
Yeah. Murphy should have had a hat-trick in this game. We'll go through his goals, no doubt. But that first one he missed, where he had all the time in the world to pick his spot, yet he still puts it something like 2-3 yards wide. Yeah. All he needed to do was put his laces through it rather than trying to bend it into the bottom corner or anything like that. This is the one problem with Murphy, is he can be so hot 1 minute, yet so cold the next. He's consistent, but also inconsistent at the same time, as we're seeing against Liverpool when he had that opportunity when he was 1-on-1 with the keeper. All he had to do was take one touch, round it, and roll it into the back of the net. He had golden opportunity to set us away really early, 2 opportunities. And I think his actually first goal was the trick error of the 3 of them to finish, because there was a crowded box. There was a lot more people in there. His shot came from, I think it was just inside the box or on the 18-yard or something like that.
Just on the
well
edge,
taken goal, but it was definitely the harder of the chances he had, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. It's one of those frustrations, and I think we've touched on this before. Is a lot of the issue with Murphy isn't his ability to have a good game for us. It's that consistency. If he could play how he can at times on a more regular basis, he would be up there with we wouldn't be looking for another right wing option, put it that way. But he is a little bit inconsistent. One thing I'll give him, though, he didn't let his head drop. None of the players around him stopped passing the ball to him or giving him chances to score, which I thought, there was one point where Isak kind of head in hands, how have you missed that kind of thing? But it'll be very easy for some of the better players, some of the more consistent players, the bigger names, to just overlook him and they'll go, look, he's obviously not, he's on a bit of a nightmare of a game, couldn't hit a cow's ass with a banjo, let's not pass in the ball. To me, seeing that the team never really gave up, they always kept playing as a team, as a unit, I think that was really positive. As you said, a couple of the chances that he had, I mean, he should have buried some of them. And I think some of the times with not just Murphy, but a few of our players, excuse me, it comes down to, do they get too much time and they overthink what they need to do? Because all Murphy needed to do there was at least just get it on target and force the keeper to make a save rather than trying to be a bit over clever with it. But sorry, go.
I totally agree with that. We've had a few instances with other players. I mean, you look, for example, in the Brentford game where Isak, he rounded the keeper, then he tried to take it around the player, and then the keeper just gets his paw on it and swipes it away. Just trying to be too clever, too cute, and trying to have too much time on the ball. The saying goes, just put it in the net. That is the important thing. Doesn't matter how it goes in, as long as it does.
Yeah. Well, luckily for us, one of the massive issues that we've had this season and since Eddie Howe took over and arguably for a long time before that, because I think we had this problem right from the Pardew days, our inability, despite the number of corners and free kicks that we get, we just cannot score again a set piece, a delivery, bad deliveries or bad finishes or no idea of what we're actually doing. This is now starting to get a little bit better for us. We've scored a couple of free kicks or set pieces goals this season now, and we've actually scored 2. So this season. This game we've scored two set piece goals. Murphy's from the opening, like from a corner, it was like we had an easy out from the actual corner to Tonali. Tonali's put it back into Gordon's path. Gordon's like squared it back out to the edge of the box for Murphy. And as you said, he's like probably one of the hardest chances that he had of that first half because he was through a crowded box. There was plenty of players in the way, and he's literally just put it straight into the bottom corner. Keeper could do nothing about it. Crowd goes mental. That's 1-0. Early-ish goal for the game. I can't remember exactly what time it was on.
30 minutes, I think.
About 30-odd minutes, yeah. It's exactly what we wanted. As you said, like we had a couple of other chances. I think Bruno's put one over the bar. Dan Burns headed one over the bar when he probably should have scored as well. Joe Linton's had a couple of shots on target. The keeper's made some good saves. Gordon had a shot that the keeper made a good save from. So we had so many chances, and it was again one of those situations I thought where, even at 1-0, we scored that early goal, but recent memory, we need another one. We definitely need another one. And as you said at the start here, I think Leicester had a final kind of throw of the dice in the latter bits of that first half. They put a little bit of pressure on. They started to kind of like move forward. Maybe Newcastle were just hoping to soak up some pressure, maybe get a counter-attack goal. I thought Leicester looked good for like maybe the last 5 minutes or so of that first half, would you say?
Yeah, definitely. They had one opportunity, one shot, which I can't remember if Dubravka saved or just rolled across the goal and fizzled out with play. It came to nothing, obviously, but that was the only chance that springs to mind. Vardy didn't have a sniff all game, thankfully. And apparently they had 3 shots on target, but I cannot remember anything coming in, whether they again has bobbled through to Dubs or whatever. But yeah, I cannot remember them having any shots whatsoever, which were any meaningful attempt anyway.
Yeah. So the second half kicked off, and I think Leicester kind of came out, had another little go at us. Nothing really came of it again, but we were pretty quick off the mark with getting that second goal. I think Eddie in his post-match presser was very happy that went in. It gave us a little bit of a comfort zone, gave us a bit of confidence to see out the rest of the game, but it also meant that we got into that rhythm, I guess you would say, and scored another 2 on top of that in quick fire fashion. We were kind of back to our dominant best. I think you would say pretty comfortably. Sort of, we were looking pretty good value for that 4-0 at one point. Now I can't remember the exact order. I believe Bruno's was the second goal.
Correct.
Yeah, and then Isak scored from a deflected ball by Hall. Hall providing 2 assists in this game. I thought he had an absolute blinder on that left link up play with Gordon and the overlap. I thought they both just they tore Leicester apart on the overlap and on that left wing. Now I think it gave Leicester a little bit of problem. So they kept shifting over to that left-hand side to try and kind of cope with that. And it gave Isak a little bit more room in the middle, and it definitely gave Murphy room on the right because they weren't really worried about him. And then Murphy makes up for some of the misses that he's had in the first half and just leathers the ball after some very, very clever footwork from Alexander Isak, and just sort of like basically through the keeper's legs, 4-0. We seem to kind of ease off a little bit after that. It's not so much, I think, how much of that do you think was us easing off, or how much do you think it was just like, well, we made some substitutions, maybe 4-0 up, we're conscious that we've got a midweek game in the cup, really important game for us, so we've kind of tried to save some legs as a good indicator that we're probably going to be taking the cup game as serious as we can, and we wanted to get our best 11 out there on the pitch. Is that safe to say?
Yeah, absolutely. And it was good the fact that we were in a position to be able to do so, because if that game had remained at 1-0 with, say, 60 minutes on the clock, I don't think Eddie makes that many subs, or he makes such big changes by taking some of the key players off. Having a luxury is something we haven't had all season effectively. And because of that, we can now rest players for the cup game. And we've got obviously the big important game against Ipswich, who will be on cloud nine after their last second winner against Wolves. So that'll be a big thing there. But I was also good to see Asula getting some game time because there was no pressure on the game there. He didn't really have much time he didn't impact the game much. But
I was going to ask you about that. Like, what did you make of his little? He basically came on around about 70 minutes, so he's had a good 20 minutes on the pitch. I don't think he really got involved all that much. You could see the drop off for me anyway. There was a big drop off between Isak in terms of his positioning, his build up play, his ability to kind of get on the ball. Asula probably was just chasing shadows most of the game that he was on, I thought. But again, it's not easy because I think we were probably just sitting back hoping to kind of just see out the game, take it easy, reserve some energy. So we weren't really pushing forward at that point either. So it's a little bit harsh on him to judge him on that, I think. But it is very, very good to see him get some time on the pitch for sure. Harvey Barnes came on. What did you make of his performance when he came on?
Considering he's playing out of position and he's playing against his former club that he came through the whole youth academy for, there's a lot of players can shy away from that and maybe just want to be the small man on the pitch and not really get involved that much. But he had chances, a few shots on target. I can't remember if he had the build up or part of the build up where Tonali's effort, where the ball bobbled up, then Tonali turned the play and rifled in. I think it was a side net. I would have loved that goal to win.
That would have been amazing if that had gone in.
Barnes, he done a job. Didn't get the goal or get an assist like he normally does from his sub appearance, but he definitely tried. He didn't just sit back. And even Trips, he done all right when he came on. And the one thing I do love about Trips, he might not have got the captain's armband when he came on, as Bruno left the pitch at the same time. He did. You can see every time he's off the ball, he's pointing players where to go, where to be, what runs to make or anything. That man is just a natural born leader with or without the armband. And if he does go in January, I'll be sorry to see him go because that man is an influential figure. But yeah, it was good to see him get some minutes under the belt and Tino to get a well-deserved rest as well.
Well, I wanted to actually ask you about that because I saw someone on social media pointing out that when Bruno left, he tried to give Trippier the armband, and Trippier actually said, like, basically wouldn't take the armband. So I think Bruno gave it to Dan Burn, and then when Dan Burn went off, I think he tried, or they made some more changes, and I think Dan Burn then tried to give it to Trips, and he still refused to take the armband. And was that a situation of he's in the huff because he got the captaincy taken off him, or is he just being respectful that, well, look, no, I'm not the captain, I'm not going to take that responsibility now because we want to try and create other leaders or whatever. It was an interesting point, I thought. Like, what's your take on that?
I didn't say the incident, so I can't 100% comment on it. But I can't see Trips taking a huff like that. He's too professional in that regard. And as mentioned before, I don't think he needs the armband to be a captain on the pitch or to be one of the leaders. If he wants to give it to Burn, to Joe Linton, whoever that's going to be, when Bruno does leave the pitch, then happy days. Because that means he's got faith and trust in other players on the pitch. And then they're just going to repay that faith by putting in a cracking performance for him.
Yeah, to me, it's like it's a bit of a shit stirring kind of exercise, if you like. I don't see, in terms of the captain on the pitch, I've always been a little bit like, it doesn't really bother me unless you're like really struggling in a game or you need to kind of find some way of pulling everyone together in a bad situation. I've always been a little bit skeptical of what the captain's responsibility is in terms of team morale and that on the actual match day. It's great when you're off the pitch and they can do the interviews, they can go and have a chat with the ref, that's fine. But I've never been convinced about how much of a benefit the captain is like during an actual match. Because people are basically saying, "Oh, Bruno's not leading the team on the match day." It's like, well, he is because he's leading by example. He's involved in everything. I'm not sure what what people are expecting the captain to actually do. So yeah, it felt like a little bit of another shit stirring exercise by people on social media, which is not great in light of the Craig Hope stuff that came out just before the match.
What a
Again, it's
dick.
like, look, I get it. You need to generate clicks to make a living these days. He's very, very good at. I mean, I saw people saying like Craig Hope should be banned from the press conferences and stuff again. I don't agree with that. I think Toon polls, they said no, that's censorship. We don't want to go down that route, and I do agree with that.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what your situation, what your thoughts are on this, but to me, it's like, we all know that it is a clickbait world now for journalists. It's not like they're just making a paper. It's all online content. They need to generate headlines that people are going to react to. It's going to cause a bit of a fuss. And you can't even guarantee that what the headlines are actually what the article feelings are, because it's only there to generate people's interest or get people talking about it, to generate that sort of like social media buzz, to get the ad links, and his site's behind a paywall. So the whole point is, you want to go onto here, and that way we can get some money off you. It's just the nature of the beast these days. But it's more for me the timing of it all. Put these things out by all means. Stop undermining the team that you're supposed to be like a fan of, or that you're supposed to be trying to sort of get behind. And you want positive things about them in the long term. Stop doing this shit on match days or the day before. That's clearly going to undermine some of the player confidence or the team morale, that we're just so desperate to start building as well.
Yeah. I talked about it maybe a week or so ago. Pretty much every match day or the day before, there's always one of our players linked with the move somewhere else, trying to deharmonize the squad, whether it be Tonali, Bruno, Gordon, whoever. There's always a story coming out that this player wants to leave, this player's had talks with another club secretly, whatever. And 99.9% of it is all bullshit designed to put instability within the squad to try and knock us down a peg or two. And it's starting to proper piss me off. It didn't bother me at all in the old days because, to be honest, nobody wanted to buy our players because they were shit. And the only one that we saw of any real value was probably Andy Carroll back in the day. But yeah, it's getting to the point now where I'll wake up on a Saturday morning and I'll see a link, Isak linked with Chelsea, Isak linked with Arsenal, Bruno linked with Man City, and think, okay, I'm not even going to bother reading the article because I know it's crap. But then you'll see, for example, Gordon coming out the other week said, yeah, the rumours in the media did probably affect his game earlier on in the season, which is fair enough. And then he came out on another interview when he was doing, I think it was the charity event at St. James's, where he said, look, just let me football do the talking, keep me out of the media, and I'll do what's best for the team. And look at the performance he just put in against Leicester. He tore them in year one, ripped them in year also from that first whistle right to the moment he left the pitch.
No, for sure. I think it's worthwhile the fans recognizing this and the fans just being on board. There's no good like cracking the shits with some of the journos. It's like it's what they're paid to do. If you don't like what they do, stop interacting with them. Stop clicking on their articles. And as soon as you stop doing that, or you start selectively reading their stuff or interacting with them on more positive articles, then they'll sharp change their tactics if they're not getting the buzz that they so desire. So look, 3 points in the bag. I would say probably one of the most comfortable wins we've had for a long time as a Newcastle fan. Absolutely brilliant from start to finish. Very rarely were we threatened. Now, one of the things I'm a little bit conscious of is not getting super carried away with this, because while you can we're basically we can only beat what everyone says. We can only beat what's put in front of us. But let's be honest here, Leicester didn't actually put a lot in front of us.
No, they didn't.
They were a poor side, and for me, that's worth remembering, is that look, we dominated, but Leicester were poor. So as much as we were good, they were bad. So I'm thinking we are the reality in terms of what that performance means going into Brentford game, going into the Ipswich game, is probably somewhere in the middle of both of those performances. What do you make of this going forward? Is it a timely confidence boost going into Brentford, or is it something that, hopefully we don't start getting a little bit more not lazy, but taking it a little bit more blasé about, we're back and we're putting those good performances in. It's a home game. We are getting back to that good performance week in, week out. The crowd's starting to get behind the players at home again with the performances that they're putting in. Do you see it having like a really good positive impact going into Brentford?
It has to. It really does. And it's a breakaway from the league as well. That can have a big impact on some of the players too, because whilst there's pressure to reach another semi-final, there's no pressure to climb the league table, because obviously that's something that we need to do as well.
Yeah.
Brentford's away form is as bad as ours, effectively, from what I've had a quick look at the stats. But again, the League Cup can throw up a different type of game compared to a Premier League one, even though it is two Premier League teams, as we've seen previously. I do hope that we attack the game in the same manner, as if we do, I really don't think Brentford will have an answer for it. Isak, he was absolutely outstanding in this Leicester game.
Yeah.
He was running them ragged left, right, and centre. The midfield also with Bruno, Joe Linton, and Tonali, they are getting their game on a little bit better every minute they're together on the pitch now. That could very well be a force to be reckoned with, and one of the best midfield trios in the league once it does finally click. Hopefully that's not too far off. Well, the Brentford game will be a different beast compared to Leicester, as we found out not so long ago. They have some cracking players in their team. They can hurt us, but we can also hurt them. We just shut off in that second half.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's kind of one of those situations where that's kind of we're still bottom half. We're still in the bottom half of the league table at the moment. We've got Nottingham Forest going up to 4th in the table. The
crazy.
league table is just bonkers at the moment. We've actually got Man United and Tottenham both sitting around where we are. West Ham are below us in the league as well. You've got some mid-table esque teams in terms of what their normal finishing positions are, who are all above us at the moment. But it's actually worth remembering, and this is what we've tried to kind of instill this. Let's just wait and see, this whole Eddie Howe out thing, because we're sitting in the bottom half of the table already. We're now 3 points, one game off the top 6.
It's bonkers, isn't it?
It's just crazy how close the league table is, like all the way down to kind of like 15th at the moment. You take Liverpool out at the top, Man City, Chelsea, they're kind of like sitting around a competitive bit, a couple of games away from getting back in that title contention. But the rest of the table is so tight, and I think it's important for us to get a little bit of that momentum going while we can. But, if we can start to string some results together, we can climb the table pretty easily. For me, though, I'm not sure if we're going to have time to do a Brentford preview for the Cup game, but how important is it for you personally as a fan? Because for me, it's crucial to get through to that semi-final again.
Absolutely, yeah. The semi-final is obviously going to be the only thing the lads should be talking about from now until that final whistle. Then, fingers crossed, hopefully we get luck of the draw again, because you don't really want to be facing Liverpool in the semi-final or anything. I would gladly, at this minute in time, take Man United or Tottenham, because I know they play each other, because I think over 2 legs we can beat them. Straightforward. I think that would be pretty decent. Can't remember who else is in the competition, unfortunately. I think Arsenal are still in there.
Chelsea's still in, are they? No.
Could very well. No, we knocked Chelsea out.
We beat them.
Yeah, we did, yeah. Arsenal are in there, so you wouldn't really want to fancy them over 2 legs, maybe.
No, that's fair.
But yeah, there's definitely some teams there who you'd prefer rather than others, even at this relatively late stage in the competition. But the number one goal has and has always been to win the trophy.
Just want some silverware. Silverware.
Yeah, we are effectively what would be Brentford. We're 3 games away from it. Yep. 3 games away from ending that drought. Yep. And as I've said many times, I don't know what I will do for that period. If you do win a trophy, I will need to hire a film crew to come and follow me around for 2 weeks because I will go missing. And I think there will be every other Newcastle fan around the planet doing exactly the same type of thing.
Yeah.
That first trophy, get that monkey off the shoulder and just go for it. And I don't care if we finish 17th, but we win a trophy. As long as we don't get relegated and win a trophy, we're back in Europe as well. So that is the other key thing as well. Rather than just a silverware, it's an entry to Europe.
Well, that's the thing that kind of gets me. It's like when's the cup final? It's like February or something, March.
It's 4 days before my birthday. I've already started planning it.
Well, hopefully it's a nice birthday present for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, tough game in midweek against Brentford. At least it's at home. Hopefully we can get the job done. As you said, if we can get the cup win, it's Europe solidified in. It's obviously it's not Champions League or anything like that, but at least it's some sort of European competition. And basically that means the rest of the season's a free hit, effectively. As long as we don't go down, it's like, there's no pressure in terms of where we finish. As long as it's, I'd like to see us finish top half, but there's no pressure on everything. All the players can just go out there, perform however they want without any pressure on their shoulders. And more importantly, it gives us a bit more freedom to start bringing players like Miley back in, give Sanusi a couple of games, try and sort of like bring through some of the young players that we need to start to get into that squad. And who knows, some of those may, they may shine like Miley did and give us a little bit of an easier time in the transfer market. And then, even if we don't have them as fully first team players, but maybe we can sell a couple of them, make some easy profit, which kind of helps to keep all of our senior players around. But big game in midweek to get over first. I'm not counting any kind of chickens before they've hatched, mainly because of how poor Leicester were in this game. But we've taken the 3 points. That's the main thing. I think we'll probably wrap it up there. There's not a great deal more to say. We're all absolutely buzzing over that result. And we'll be back, if not for a preview. I think it is going to be a bit tight, but we'll definitely be back for a discussion, hopefully, after we've booked our place in the semi-final of the League Cup. So thank you for joining me again, Craig. Thanks for everyone who watches. If you're watching on YouTube and you haven't already, please hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Leave us a comment of things that you want us to talk about as well, because we're always up for some new topics for discussion if people want us to chat away about that sort of stuff. But for me, it's a bon voyage to all of the fans. Hopefully I can go and get some sleep now. It's been a day. But yeah, cheers for joining me, Craig, and I will catch you again on the flip side.
See you later, mate.
Cheers.